Pearl Island, the science of everyday life. Hi viewers, welcome to our channel. This channel is dedicated to bringing you research-based insights into life, inspiring stories, and thought-provoking ideas presented in a simple and easy-to-understand way, because a better life begins with a better understanding of ourselves. Today, I'd like to tell you a story. Not from the pages of history, but a story created to help us understand one of the greatest wonders of human life. It is the story of a small island nation called Pearl Island. Although Pearl Island exists only in this story, what it represents exists much closer to us than we have ever imagined. Pearl Island became known for something very unusual. It had one of the world's most admired food governance systems. Before any new food was approved for the nation's public kitchens, it was reviewed by a small council. The council was led by the Prime Minister. Beside him sat the Chief Medical Advisor. And beside the advisor sat one official whose responsibilities seemed surprisingly small. He was the Chief Food Taster. His duty lasted only a few seconds. He tasted the food. He reported what he experienced. Then his work was done. He was never expected to decide whether the food was healthy. He was never expected to judge whether it would strengthen the nation. His responsibility was simply to answer one question: how does it taste? The final decision always belonged to the Prime Minister. For many years, the system worked remarkably well. The food taster reported honestly. The medical advisor gave his professional opinion. The Prime Minister listened to every department before making a decision. Then, something changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, one decision at a time. Whenever the food taster enjoyed a sweeter meal, it was approved. Whenever he admired a richer meal, it became the preferred choice. Slowly, almost unnoticed, the Prime Minister stopped asking, "Is this good for the nation?" Instead, every meeting ended with the same question: what does the food taster think? The food taster had not changed. He never lied. He never misled anyone. He simply reported what tasted pleasant. The mistake was never his. The mistake was allowing one opinion to outweigh every other voice. One morning, the Chief Medical Advisor requested an emergency meeting. The Prime Minister looked surprised. "What is the matter?" The advisor replied quietly, "Our departments are working harder than ever before, yet the nation's health is slowly declining." "But everyone is doing their job," replied the Prime Minister. "They are," said the advisor. "The problem is not with the departments. The problem began the day we started making decisions based only on the opinion of the food taster." Now, let's step out of Pearl Island and walk into our own neighborhood. In one ordinary home, a man is sitting in front of his television. A packet of potato chips lies open beside him. A bottle of soft drink rests on the table. He knows these foods are unhealthy. He has heard the doctor's advice. He has watched health programs. He has promised himself many times that he would eat better. Yet, almost without thinking, his hand reaches for another chip, then another, then another. Why? How can a pleasure lasting only a few seconds overrule years of knowledge? Perhaps the answer lies in Pearl Island. Because Pearl Island was never really about a nation. The Prime Minister represents your conscious mind. The Chief Food Taster is your tongue. The other departments represent the remarkable organs that quietly work inside your body every moment of your life. And just like Pearl Island, your body also depends upon one important principle. Every part must perform its own responsibility. No more, no less. The tongue was created to taste, not to decide. So who really decides? Where does taste actually come from? And how can just a few seconds of pleasure influence the health of an entire body? To answer those questions, we must now begin an extraordinary journey inside ourselves. Now, let us begin our journey inside the human body. If I ask you, where does taste happen? Most people immediately point to their tongue. It seems obvious. After all, when you eat a mango or a piece of chocolate, your tongue never experiences taste. It only collects information. Scattered across your tongue are thousands of tiny taste buds. Each one contains specialized sensory cells designed to recognize only a handful of basic tastes: sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami, the savory taste found in protein-rich foods. The moment food mixes with saliva, these tiny sensors become active. Within a fraction of a second, they send electrical signals through nerves towards one remarkable destination: your brain. That is where taste is created. Not on your tongue, inside your brain. The tongue never says, "This food is delicious." It simply reports, "This is sweet, this is salty, this is bitter." The interpretation belongs entirely to the brain. Your tongue merely describes what it detects. The decision always belongs elsewhere. But why did nature design us this way? The answer lies far back in human evolution. Imagine living thousands of generations ago. Every meal had to be found, and every mistake could be fatal. Sweetness usually meant ripe fruit, a valuable source of energy. Salt helped maintain the body's fluid balance. Protein-rich foods increased the chances of survival. Your ancestors who naturally preferred these foods were more likely to survive and raise families. Over thousands of generations, those preferences became deeply wired into the human brain. Bitter foods often signaled poisonous plants. So nature taught the brain to be cautious. These ancient survival programs were brilliant. They helped our ancestors survive in a world where food was scarce. But today, our world has changed completely. Food is no longer scarce. Yet the brain still follows instructions written thousands of years ago. Modern food manufacturers understand this remarkably well. Many processed foods are carefully designed to combine sugar, salt, and fat in just the right proportions to make the brain ask for more. The tongue simply reports sweet, salty, crispy. The brain remembers ancient survival lessons and quietly replies, "Excellent, let's have another." The real responsibility still belongs to the conscious mind. And this brings us to a fascinating question. If the pleasure of taste lasts only a few seconds, what happens after the food disappears from the tongue? Let's follow that single potato chip beyond the tongue and discover the extraordinary journey waiting inside the human body. The potato chip disappears from your tongue in less than 5 seconds. For the tongue, the job is over. For the rest of your body, the work has only just begun. The journey continues down the food pipe, into the stomach, and then through nearly 30 feet of the digestive system. Think about that for a moment. A pleasure lasting only a few seconds can create hours of work inside a digestive system almost 30 feet long. Every meal becomes a national project. Every department begins its work. The stomach starts breaking the food into smaller pieces. The pancreas joins in, releasing digestive enzymes and hormones that help regulate blood sugar. The liver quietly processes nutrients, stores energy, and helps remove harmful substances. The intestines carefully absorb what the body needs, while trillions of beneficial microorganisms living there begin playing their own remarkable role. Every organ performs its responsibility with extraordinary precision. But imagine what happens if every day the food taster keeps demanding meals loaded with excess sugar, salt, and unhealthy fats. Every department must work a little harder, then a little harder still. The remarkable thing about the human body is this: it rarely complains immediately. Instead, it adapts. The pancreas produces more insulin. The liver stores more fat. The blood vessels gradually lose some of their flexibility. The body's finely balanced systems quietly compensate day after day, year after year. That is why unhealthy habits can be so deceptive. Nothing seems wrong until one day the body can no longer keep up. Medical research over many years has consistently shown that diets high in ultra-processed foods are associated with an increased risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, and several other long-term health conditions. These illnesses rarely appear after one meal. They develop through thousands of small decisions. One plate, one snack, one drink, repeated again and again. Yet the story does not end there. Scientists have made another fascinating discovery. Your digestive system constantly communicates with your brain. This remarkable communication network is often called the gut-brain axis. Millions of nerve cells, hormones, and chemical messengers carry information in both directions. The brain influences the gut. The gut influences the brain. Researchers now understand that this communication affects not only digestion, but also appetite, mood, metabolism, and many aspects of overall health. They were never designed to work independently. They were designed to work together. Now, another surprising question arises. If unhealthy habits can slowly train the brain, can healthy habits train it back? Is one of the most hopeful discoveries in modern neuroscience. And it may change the way you think about food forever. Fortunately, there is wonderful news. The story does not end with unhealthy habits, because your brain is designed to change. For many years, scientists believed that our food preferences remained largely fixed. Today, modern neuroscience tells a very different story. Your brain learns, it adapts, and it continues changing throughout life. This remarkable ability is called neuroplasticity. Even your taste buds renew themselves roughly every 2 weeks. That gives your brain another opportunity to learn healthier preferences. Medical studies have shown something remarkable. People who consistently reduce highly processed foods, excess sugar, and excess salt for several weeks often experience an unexpected change. Fresh fruit begins tasting sweeter. Natural foods become more enjoyable. Foods that once seemed irresistible often become excessively sweet or unpleasantly salty. Nothing magical has happened. The tongue is still doing exactly what it has always done. The change has taken place inside the brain. That means your food preferences are not permanent. They are learned. And what has been learned can be learned differently. Remember Pearl Island. The chief food taster never changed. The Prime Minister did. He began listening to every department once again. That is how balance returned. The same is true for us. Real change does not begin by fighting the tongue. It begins by teaching the brain. The first few days may feel difficult. Healthy food may still seem less satisfying. That is perfectly normal. Your brain is simply following habits built over many years. Don't be discouraged. Every healthy meal teaches it something new. Every repeated choice strengthens healthier pathways. With patience, those pathways become your new normal. You do not need perfect discipline. You only need enough patience to allow your brain to learn again. Think for a moment about the extraordinary body quietly serving you every day. Your heart, your liver, your pancreas, your kidneys, your lungs, your intestines, every organ performs its duty, asking for nothing in return. Together, they form an extraordinary nation within you that has been silently serving you every moment of your life. There is another thought worth reflecting upon. Our ancestors knew very little about modern medicine. Yet through observation, experience, and wisdom, they passed on healthy habits from one generation to the next. Today, we understand the human body better than any generation before us. We can map the human genome. We can see inside a beating heart. We understand nutrition in extraordinary detail. The question is no longer whether we know enough. The question is whether we are living wisely enough. Scientists are also discovering that the health of parents, including nutrition and metabolic health, may influence future generations through biological mechanisms that are still being studied. Many questions remain, but one truth is already clear. The choices we make today may influence lives beyond our own. That gives every meal a deeper meaning. We are not merely feeding ourselves. We are caring for a remarkable biological inheritance that one day we may pass on to those who come after us. Do we not owe them the healthiest beginning we can reasonably give? Now, let us return to Pearl Island. The Prime Minister called one final meeting. The Chief Medical Advisor stood beside him. The Chief Food Taster was there too. The Prime Minister smiled. "You never failed us. I simply expected you to do a job that was never yours. From today, I shall still ask, what does the food taster think? But I shall never again ask him to decide." He turned towards the council. "Every department shall once again perform its own responsibility. We shall govern wisely." Nothing about the food taster had changed. Only one thing had changed: the wisdom of the leader. And with that, Pearl Island slowly became healthy once again. Perhaps that is where our own journey begins. Not by fighting the tongue, not by fearing food, but by allowing wisdom to guide taste. The greatest victory is not over your tongue. It is over the habits that taught your brain what to desire. Every healthy meal is a lesson. Every repeated lesson becomes a habit. Every habit shapes a healthier future. Every meal is a decision. Every decision is a vote. Choose your leaders wisely. If this journey through Pearl Island has helped you see your own body differently and given you hope that healthier habits can be rebuilt, please share it with someone you care about. Someone in your family, a friend, or perhaps a young person may begin looking at food differently because of this story. If you enjoy research-based stories where science meets everyday life, I warmly invite you to subscribe to our channel. A simple like also helps this story reach many more people who may benefit from it. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Take good care of the extraordinary nation within you that has been silently serving you every moment of your life.